Welcome back to the Price Bell Podcast. We are doing a live podcast today from Las Vegas. We are at the wonderful Kiwahaka booth. If you're listening to the audio feeds, you're missing out. You should totally check out the video because we are on site today and we cannot wait to talk to you guys about functional ingredients in beverage. Last year we talked about food and functional ingredients, and this year, I don't know if you guys know, we did something. We made an energy drink and it contains Cognizant. And so today we're going to be kind of continuing the conversation. We've got Darren Decker from Applied Nutrition.
Hello.
Lou Ferrer. I'm sorry?
Ferrer.
Okay, Lou Ferrer. Mac O'Cap. And Mike Roberto.
Hey, everyone. I would like to say thank you to Kiwahaka for having us here.
Yes. And
to all the partners in the Expo Energy Drink. I will eventually probably get replaced by Joey Savage, so we'll tune things up a little bit here. So, Ben, I'm not sure if you have
I have an open question.
A main agenda, but we are obviously really excited about the collaboration. We were excited last year because we got to have different formulators come together from different companies, competing companies, honestly, and speak on the same panel. I don't think we could have done that 5 years ago. Now we are getting everyone in the same can, in the same promotion that can be found at different booths in this arena. And everyone's been really supportive, working well together, and it's quite honestly been a fun experience. So I think the industry's moving forward, and thank you to all the ingredient suppliers and everyone who supported us for making that happen. So that's just kind of what I want to kick off here.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I have an opening question, and I'd like to hear Lou and Darren's take on it. So if you guys don't know, Lou works at Macrocap. He makes a lot of these cans that you guys probably drink every single day of the week. Darren works at Applied Nutrition. He's from Caged. He's actually from bodybuilding.com before that. And so he understands kind of the product side. So my question for you guys is, why do these functional ingredients matter? Why should consumers start looking for products that are more than just caffeine?
You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Actually, let's not start with like the marketing side. Let's start with like the functional side.
I think that consumers have, over probably the last, really within the last 5 years, probably starting a little bit before COVID, really started making a shift into ingredients that you can actually have data and research behind them that have some sort of benefit for you. I was actually just talking with Gerard over here on how there's been the decline in, say, like alcohol sales over the past decade. And a lot of that is due to, me personally, it's like, we're in Las Vegas right now. Normally, everyone is going out last night, coming in here, like, feeling like death. But it's not to the same extent anymore. Like, people just genuinely don't want to feel crappy like that. Yeah. And people actually making a conscious decision on choosing things to consume, supplements to take that you just feel better overall. And so, obviously, like, ingredients like Cognizant and things like that have the research behind them. There are those benefits, and consumers are becoming aware of that. And that's why I think that there's been a big shift into like putting these into functional drinks and stuff.
Just as a follow-up, working in a manufacturer, have you seen a shift from just caffeine energy drinks into like
100%? Like, honestly, there was that obviously when the performance energy category kind of really got started. It was like, oh, you had 300 milligrams of caffeine in every drink. Sometimes you'd see 350 milligrams of caffeine. And now, steadily, the caffeine content is continuing to decrease, which normally, like the way our society is, everything just keeps going higher and higher and higher, but we're seeing the complete opposite from that now. And so, obviously, you kind of need something to replace that in a way to feel something from the drink. Otherwise, you're just drinking a diet soda. Yeah. So it's very interesting, obviously, like from my manufacturing and like formulation perspective, like you're seeing it's the opposite with the decrease in caffeine that you would normally see, but people making, again, that conscious effort to like do something different in their drinks.
Yeah, I personally think it all stems from education and our access to information, right? I think we all started in this industry at the beginning. I mentioned bodybuilding.com. Forums were how you got a lot of information.
I was going to bring that up.
Right?
Yep.
Like that's where you sought out information digitally. There weren't all these, mechanisms. There wasn't necessarily a Ben Kane on social that can educate you on these functional ingredients and how they work in your body and how they can benefit you both from a performance aspect, an acute sensation aspect when you consume these products. So again, I think the market is just catching up and they have more access to information. So it allows them to make those better purchasing decisions. And overall, like we kind of said too, like the caffeine tolerance is going down now. I refer to myself as like a Chelsea Grammer because I take a gram of caffeine a day. But I know that's not the right way to go about it, and so I actively am looking for ways to still have that acute sensation of energy that I need, but also limit my caffeine intake because I know of health outcomes because I'm better educated.
Right. We've seen the evolution of education happen, and that's really part of the Prize Ball Genesis story. Is I saw people in the bodybuilding.com forums, rest in peace, I saw them looking for information, and I knew that the hardcore consumers were there and they wanted it. We started blogging about it. The rest is history for us. But now, Ghost, for instance, major acquisition, maybe that comes up here or whatever, but you see them starting to use trademarked ingredients where they formulate for the 1% of people who care, but market to the 99% and everything. But they put a dent in the market with that mantra. Now, there's probably always going to be cheap energy drinks out there, for instance, beverages that don't use branded ingredients. But the formula for success is kind of out there from a company like Ghost, who did both things. They marketed right, but they also put in some efficacious stuff. And I think the companies need to note that. And going back to the bodybuilding.com forum days, people wanted to see data. And back then, you would see some products marketed with, bar graphs that were with the axes out of skew and everything. And
85% increase in lean muscle tissue.
People have gotten smarter. Ben always says, a TikToker knows more stuff than an intelligent person from 15 years ago now. And so the companies have to know what is happening here, and you're going to need a clinically supported ingredient here or there. And for instance, and getting back to the low caffeine dose, Bum Energy, 112.5 milligrams of caffeine and cognizin. And it works wonderfully.
I actually, I think this category specifically is actually what's driving a lot of opportunity for brands like us into other markets, right? Energy is everywhere. Energy is in every store, in every convenience aisle, and that education and that consumer is getting educated on these types of products. Ghost broke that barrier for most of us, but now you can start seeing that transcend into the actual sports nutrition side of the sets within some of these grocery stores as well. And so that evolution for me always started with energy, and I'm really excited about the future because I think there's still plenty of room for growth in a lot of these categories.
One of my things that I love most about the energy category is that people get to identify with the community. You can almost judge someone based on what energy drink they drink. Do you still drink Monster or Ray? Have you gotten into the the subculture of energy drinks, or Ghost has kind of transcended that? But there's those smaller niche brands, those bigger ones, and it says a lot about who you are with what you drink. The cool thing about that is with those really sticky brands that bring people in, they can show them new ingredients. They can show them how these ingredients can change their lives, which is a great opportunity to get it out there.
Completely agree.
So let me ask you guys, we're all excited about all these new ingredients. We're excited about Cognizant. How do we get it out there to the masses? How do we help more people understand that there's more to life than caffeine?
There is.
I don't know. You make a few amount of products with.
A big part of it again is continuing to drive consumer education. So obviously, the content that you guys create is amazing, and at the end of the day, it's just people becoming more aware of what is going to be beneficial for them in the long term of their lives. Right? We all started out drinking it was just caffeine. It was high caffeinated diet soda, right? But as we get older, we're starting to make more conscious decisions because we want to live not only longer, but a better length, right? So you want to make decisions that are going to be good for you. So continuing to put that content out there in front of everyone, get that in front of as many people as possible, just help people make more educated decisions.
Someone recently reminded me, by the way, that not too long ago, a lot of energy drinks were full sugar content. Sugar-free Monster, the white, that was what made it special, was it was sugar-free. If this had 30 grams of sugar in it, that's not even a possibility. It was never a thought in our mind.
Right.
It's the complete norm now. I feel like that was the first function change, right? For people to say hey, I can get these things in without all that sugar. Now we're adding things in.
I think the other piece too, when it comes to functional beverage, is that especially products like Cognizant, we are constantly distracted as a society. Like, we have so much stuff going on around us. You kind of also are looking for products that help you narrow that focus in your job, when you're at home with your family and your kids. Like, we are constantly looking for products to bring us back home. And so that's why I see tons of benefits in products like Cognizant to kind of help divert that distraction that we have in our everyday lives and how it's being used in functional beverage at such scale. I think it's really going to drive the market as well.
There's one company that does it really well. I'll shout Bum Energy.
Yeah.
Like, literally just a little bit of caffeine and just Cognizant.
Yeah.
I think it's actually helped people understand Cognizant more because it's such a simple formula. People take it and they're like, you can feel the difference between this and just regular caffeine, and it's easy to identify that change was the Cognizant.
Yeah, and sorry, just from a marketer and in a brand, you look at the success of Bum, and you feel more comfortable putting an ingredient like Cognizant into your products as you come out with them too, because you follow market makers. You don't always, as a brand, you don't always have the budget to create a market and educate everyone, but you want to be on the trend of what the consumer is learning about at that same time. And so, hat tip to Bum. It makes us really comfortable and confident for potential energy drink in the future that we might be working on that will have Cognizant in it.
Interesting. So to answer your question, Ben, obviously we like to have our content. It'll always be there on PricePlow, but a lot of it comes down to influencers, and that's just where it's shifted. So I was going to use Chris Bumstead as an example. I don't know how often he talks about certain ingredients, but just him, and he's not going to give you a scientific breakdown, but just him saying the word gives it awareness and everything. So I think it's going to be nice if a brand cares enough to put a branded ingredient into their formula.
Yep.
They should care enough to get their influencers to at least say it. And then it starts this whole circle.
Yes.
But we can't ignore how important influencers are. And I know no ingredient supplier really has like nailed the sponsored athlete for an ingredient supplier thing. I don't think that really works. I don't know if it would ever work for a manufacturer. But getting the influencer of a brand to mention an ingredient, just mention it, I think is a step into the right direction, because then they can go and find it if they care. Yeah. And that's where we can come in and help educate.
Sure.
We've seen a couple ingredients kind of go mainstream in terms of understanding by normal consumers. Bumstead does a pretty good job where he actually promotes Cognizant directly, which is phenomenal. To have such a figurehead in the industry speak about a great ingredient that we can trust is really great for everyone. Like, no matter where you are in the market, to see someone who's trustworthy talking about an ingredient and helping explain it is huge. I mean, Chris Bumstead's probably the biggest name in fitness of all time.
Yeah. To
have him talking about it, even if he's not diving into the pathway that Cognizant acts on, like, it's valuable to have him even just getting name recognition out there for something other than, I'll bring it back, caffeine.
Yeah.
Like, again, the fact that we aren't just talking about caffeine, the fact that they can give them claims, this is what makes your product different. I think that's what it comes down to, is companies like Kiwa affording the brands differentiation, that they can speak to the consumer in a way that consumers care.
Yeah. The rule of thumb in energy, from what I've been taught being in this industry, is energy and taste, right? But now I think with the education that's coming forward, it's energy, taste, and what kind of benefit could I potentially get from this product, right? Energy and taste are never going to change. Those are going to be your leaders in market regardless of what you do. But there's going to be that differentiation that you have to make in market, because anyone can create energy and a lot of people can create really good taste. So that's going to be the differentiator, and how you navigate that marketing is what's going to set you apart.
To add to that, though, a lot of people are looking for the mitigation of the crash.
Yes.
And so energy is good,
Great
but
point.
so we've been working for years and years on how to mitigate crash. And that's where a lot of branded ingredients come in. You could always get cheap caffeine anhydrous. I'm sure Lou's ready to bottle it in for you. But there's so many other options that we could talk about as well. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not sure like if you're noticing that trend.
I mean, trying to just like touching on what you just said, it's almost, I wouldn't even necessarily put the functional ingredients like as number 3. It's almost like the number 1 is like energy / that, because obviously like we see, like we just talked about
sense.
The amount of caffeine like decreasing in it. It's just the overall feel that you get from something. But then of course like taste is still kind of king. Like it could be the greatest formula ever. Like it could be this formula, but this drink tasted really bad. Nobody here is going to drink it still.
I think it still comes down to people having like an identification with this drink, like the flavor, the way it looks in their hands, like the way they look holding it. Like people don't drink the whole energy drink before the gym; they bring it into the gym and walk around with it, so everyone can see them drinking the new Ghost flavor, right? Like it's like a status symbol. I mean, look at Prime. Like so many kids just wanted Prime just because it was cool, right? Now there were no functional ingredients in Prime, so. Not worth going further on, but it shows a lot about what people want to show off. And if it's a $3 energy drink, that's great. We can kind of Trojan horse things in there. Like Mike likes to use this word. Like consumers are going to buy it because it tastes great, because they enjoy it. But if we can give them extra benefits, even if they don't know it, they're going to feel that and come back for more.
Yeah, I also think that like consumers are also probably now more than ever a little bit more willing to pay for those as well. Like, there's still going to be your like hardcore Red Bull Monster people that are like, I just want the $1.50 energy drink or something like that. But more and more consumers are like, it's an extra 50 cents or something like that. Yeah. Like I know like, or maybe I saw Chris Bumstead talk about Cognizant or something like that. I'm willing to pay that extra 50 cents or whatever it may be to try those ingredients.
Do you think people are willing to spend for this though?
That might be a little bit extreme. I'm not going to lie. We're reversing the cost the other day. I was like, that's going to be.
You guys can't afford dollar drink deals?
Yeah.
You guys can't do that?
We'd be paying them.
Nice. So, Lou, in the last year or so, have you noticed any specific trends that have changed because you're talking to a lot of customers who want to do some crazy stuff? You probably have to say no a lot, I'm guessing, too. Like, are you noticing any times like you keep saying no to the same thing, or you're seeing like I have to solve a problem?
Well, there's definitely a lot of problem solving. The thing, it's not so much saying no, but people will come up with really cool formulas, right? But when it comes to beverage manufacturing, not everything can work in a beverage.
Right.
So a lot of the times it's thinking of maybe alternate ideas or like slight formulation changes or something like that to still get them the end result of like what they want. But obviously, things that have become more popular, just the things that there's a reason we're talking about this right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago maybe about a potential beverage or something like that, but it's like, it's the same things that we were talking about. Like everyone's looking for these ingredients that like there is known benefit to.
Yep.
And it's almost that accompanied with kind of what you talked about with Bums, like simplicity in a way. It's like, don't overcomplicate things. Like you need a couple of these benefits, make the drink taste good, of course. And that's what consumers are looking for right now.
Yes.
Sometimes for some brands, it comes down to like how much you can get out of an ingredient. However, you know, like Cognizant has a pretty large list of claims that you can utilize based off of it. And so I'm not saying you can use it in place of multiple ingredients, but you kind of can.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, Bum has done a great job with that. Like really simple.
Like you don't need those like the old energy drinks where it's like there's pixie dusted like 15 different ingredients in it, and they're like, oh my god, this has this super ingredient in here, that's going to be great, or anything like that. It's like, no, just like keep it simple.
I mean, just you saying that, I'm excited because we live in the heyday of like awesome beverages. Like, can you imagine like going into the C-store and like not just seeing a cooler of Monster and Red Bull and like those were your options? Like, what was that, 6-7 years ago maybe? Like that was it. And now we have all these different flavors, all these different options for different functional ingredients. Not only that, you have crazy awesome licenses that have reached their hands into this aisle too. It's exciting, and like I want to be part of it.
And obviously, like just one other thing is like you've seen these extremely large conglomerates like making these acquisitions recently, and like there's a reason they're doing that too, because obviously like they're seeing the consumer shift and probably like hurting maybe their legacy brands, something like that. So that's also been interesting to watch, and like how that's going to continue to push this initiative.
So that's going to be my question kind of for Darren, but you could weigh in, is how do you disrupt that, knowing that Monster Energy drink is likely a way cheaper thing than Ghost? Okay, so how do you, if you want to penetrate that market, how are you going to do it knowing that their can is just simply cheaper?
So there's a couple things I could say here that I think are maybe a little smoke and mirrorsy. But when it comes to beverage, it's distribution strategy. Sorry, I mean, I know that's not like a very fancy answer, but it's distribution strategy, influencer marketing, but then the beverage, the claims, the acute sensation, the flavor, all those have to be up to snuff or else you will fail miserably in the market. So those things are just a must-have at this point if you're going to enter the game. Everything else on the front end from a strategy perspective and what you do to distribution is how you either are a success or a failure. I mean, we talk about Ghost. What was one of the first moves they made? Massive distribution deal, right? Like those things are massive steps in the right direction to get you into your feet in the door so you can actually then bring your functional beverage and scale it. I hate that word, but scale it.
For the record, that's what we brought on the panel for, is to say the distribution line.
Got it.
Like, you're usually the person that kills the fun in the project.
Usually.
It is what it is. Like, it's your job, but it's important for you to also articulate why it is, what it is. Like, how do we fit it?
Like, I'm a student of the game. Like, I love like this product, right? Like, it would be amazing to bring this product in the market. Like, it would, like, for guys like us, like, yeah, all day I might even spend $5 a can on this. I just might. But like we have
it would cost more.
You know, dang it, it would cost more. But no, I think that's part of it. Is like we can still have fun from a flavor perspective, from a functional ingredient perspective, making sure that consumer has that acute response of what we want. How does it differentiate with what's currently in the market? But yeah, it's the blocking and tackling that I think really differentiate if you're going to be successful or not in functional beverage.
This was supposed to show everyone like what not to do, for the record. Like it is definitely like a flex just to do it. I was trying to figure out if Lou would ever tell me to stop putting things in, honestly. I can't believe this is all suspended in 16 ounces of water.
This is crazy.
It wasn't bad, honestly.
Yeah, I really thought at some point you're like, we can't fit anymore.
I mean, that was more so just based off timeline. It's like when we get into the end, and it's like, hey, can we throw this in? And it's like, all right, like, cut it right there. Like, we still got this, get this drink done.
Lou, is there a point where there's so much powder that it would be fine on its own, but at some point it just sinks to a goo at the bottom? Is there
that's dependent on the ingredients themselves. It would be a pretty substantial amount that you'd have to do in order to do that. Yeah,
okay.
I mean, you could, something like that. You've seen, obviously, like pre-workout RTDs and things like that. You can dissolve 20-plus grams of ingredients, but it's dependent on the ingredient in itself.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. What's your favorite, easiest active ingredient to work with that you just like betaine or whatever it is? Like, is there something you just throw into anything and you're like happy to go?
I mean, taurine is always like a super easy one.
Right.
It's something it's pretty much tasteless. It dissolves easily. It's cheap. Like, that's probably the most simple thing.
Nice. And then what's funny is like a gram of it feels good for a lot of people too. So it's like,
and I mean, there are some research benefits that have been done on it too.
Yeah. Are there any things that you wish more people were doing that, like, not to give your best idea out, but is there something like you're not seeing enough of something
give
out there that
us.
Nothing, like, there's nothing that like stands out to me, just because like I do work on a ton of projects like for this category, and there's just a lot of different brands that are making really good moves that you guys are going to see come out within the next year to 2 years. Everyone, and then it's also it's not like just everyone repeating each other. It's also they've been able to do a pretty good job of all differentiating themselves. While obviously, like, it's still an energy drink, so you want to get energy out of it. But I mean, I've been very impressed with all the brands that we've talked to over the past 6 to 8 months on like the formulations that they're going to come out with in the near future.
Okay, so we asked a question last year and it led to a good conversation and kind of changes this year. So it seems like everyone's doing beverage table ingredients. It's the same ingredients, but now they're beverage table. From both of your perspectives, what do you need from a company to help you use them well? Like, what are you looking for a company to give you? And don't say price.
dang it,
Being cost effective.
I mean, yes, price matters. And hold on, I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
You could say, like, I mean, I think some of these powder brands need to understand the scale, and that it, like, at a certain scale, there's a new unlock that should be there.
1,000%, right? Like, it's like that distribution matters. It matters in so many ways, and if you don't have that, it's really hard to hit the cogs that you need in order to be successful in the channels you sell into. And so you need investment, you need marketing, you need to have the margins in the products at scale. And when you are at scale, that's when you can use some of these really awesome ingredients and have the negotiating power to get the volumes and the pricing that you need.
Okay, but marketing-wise, Like, what are you looking for in a functional ingredient?
Honestly, awareness. Like, I would say that's the secondary key. I'm looking for an acute sensation. I'm looking for someone to be able to take a functional ingredient and feel its benefits instantaneously, or I guess within the first 30 minutes of the consumption of that ingredient. That is what matters most in this specific category, because it's not a recovery product. It's not, a muscle gaining product like protein or powders or whatever. This is a very specific category, and people want to feel it, and they want to feel it right away. Now, you have some interesting ingredients in this can that do different things that have not been used in functional beverage that we are currently looking at to differentiate and see how that performs together synergistically to give that acute response. But that's really what it is. It's the acute response that someone feels from the ingredient is the number one thing that I would be looking for in functional beverage.
I would argue that like experience overall is really what you're talking about, and that includes flavor, right? You need to feel it. Like you're talking about, like the ergothioneine in here, I probably wouldn't have included, but it was explained to us that there would be an experience from using it, right? Yeah. People need to feel it. They're spending $3-4 on it. They need to feel it. And I think you mentioned, you're like, well, it's not a test booster. It's not a... But those categories typically, I think they get a little muddy because consumers are using them looking for a feeling.
1,000%.
And that's the cool thing about energy drinks is that it's a right then dosage. You can buy one of them. You can enjoy it right there and feel that effect right then.
Yeah, 1,000%. I agree.
No, I'm 100% with you. I mean, that's the whole reason that we buy energy drinks in the first place.
Yeah. As a manufacturer, though, like, what are your specific needs from a functional ingredient? Like, what are you looking for? What's your checklist?
How it affects the flavor profile is a big one. There's ingredients, maybe it has like a great sensation to it or whatever, but again, like what we talked about, how important taste is to a drink and the consumer, not just buying it one time, because obviously like you want repeat customers. So coming out with ingredients that they know like will not affect the taste profile in a negative way is really important. It also helps, this goes back to price, keeping the price down, not just from the ingredient standpoint, but from the flavor input standpoint as well, which can be a very large contributor to the overall price point of the product.
So Lou, without getting too much into the chemistry, how does someone prove that something is beverage stable? Do you do some testings in liquids, or how do you like make sure that it's going to stay in this can suspended for 2 months?
So there's a couple different things to that. Obviously, like there are certain ingredients you can just look up, like you'll know if it has to be a water soluble ingredient. First of all, there's a lot of customers that will come to us not knowing, say something either maybe it's like fat soluble vitamins or something like that can't go into that formulation, or it's ingredients that say have a low solubility. So say for instance like tyrosine. Tyrosine is a great ingredient, but per 16 ounces you can actually only theoretically dissolve like 150 milligrams in 16 ounces.
Got it.
So if you wanted to use that, you'd have to use the acetylated version of L-tyrosine. And then if it's something like a novelty ingredient like those companies obviously will have to do their due diligence and like the research behind it to, one, make sure that it's a water-soluble ingredient, but it's also stable long-term in an acidic environment, because those environments are pretty volatile. So making sure there isn't any form of like degradation or something like that long-term.
I think I'm really focused on the marketing aspect of it, but when you look at product too, like one of the reasons I always like these specialty or patented kind of ingredients is just your quality controls, right? Like that's another one that I don't want to miss, because like the consumer may not necessarily know or care, but the brands do, and you want to make sure that you have the same consistency, especially in manufacturing, right? Like if you get raws, you can get raws from all over the world with different consistencies.
Like if it was grown in like 2 different regions, it's the same plant or something like that. That makes the drink taste totally different. Yeah. And then they're coming to us like, what happened? And it's like, well, we just used the same material they provided.
And
so
consistency and quality, right? Like especially when it comes to the acute overall sensation that we talked about, we want that person to have the same experience every time they go back to the can. Because if they try it once and it's great, and the second time it's changed because of the quality of the ingredients that you're utilizing, they may not come back for that third, and that's what can kill you.
Or even worse, their first experience is bad and they never come back ever.
That's true too, which we've seen in multiple cases in this industry. Yep.
working on a project with you to your point about like scale. When you have that distribution, when you have all these commitments, there's been a moment where we've been told we need to make a promise that we're going to be risk averse.
Yeah.
Right, and so not to say that any patented company is just going to be quality, but
Yes.
when there's a name, when you can point to something, there's a large science and quality team at
1000%.
Kiwa.
Yeah.
It helps you out a lot, feeling good that it's going to be consistent.
Yep.
You're not going to. I would worry a lot less about adverse reactions when there's a clear company out there that has a track record of safety and quality.
Yeah.
It makes the job a lot easier.
It does. It's like you said. It's risk averse, and that's especially when you're a brand like us, where we have a pretty substantial business in the UK and globally, and we're trying to penetrate this market in a big way. Like, we can't afford to trip over ourselves, so we have to be extremely risk averse. Yep. I just want to say kudos. I want to say kudos because this is really cool to see. I mean, I've known you guys for a long time within this industry, through BBCom, through other brands I've worked for, and to see this type of collaboration happen within this space, like you mentioned, 5 years ago, this probably wouldn't have happened. I actually think it's really special, and it shows the growth and the professionalism of growth within our specific industry, which I'm excited to see continue.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'd like to finish with, you can keep going, but I want to make some plugs while we're at it. So
Can I give a last thought before you start plugging it
yeah.
in? So a lot of these ingredients in here, Cognizant, have been behind some of the greatest brands, and they've given a lot to the finished product goods. When we come to supply side, and this is no offense to any exhibitor here right now, but I've just always felt that a lot of the excitement exists in the finished good market, the collaborations, the exciting flavors, all that. And so a lot of this was just trying to, seeing all that out there, bringing it to this community. I mean, we love this community. This community does so much for us. They put they invest so much into science just so that you can put a couple extra words on a label, right? And to give this back and to bring excitement to a show like Supply Side, it was, I mean, it's been worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love it.
It's amazing.
So my plugs are, obviously we got to say thank you to Kiwa Oaxaca for having us here. Thank you to Informa and Supply Side for allowing us to come here and make noise both physically and with some cans and everything. Darren, AM Performance Line's coming at Vitamin Shop.
Yes.
Give us the quick thing on that. And then Lou, you guys recently just basically not upgraded, but created a whole new facility for bottling and manufacturing and everything. So give us the lowdown on that as well.
Cool. AM Performance launching at the end of November to Vitamin Shop exclusively. We have a substantial line of sports nutrition products utilizing Cognizant as some of the main ingredients in those products coming into market at the end of November. More to come. Be on the lookout for the giant AN with an atom behind it because we've been at work. A lot of us at this table have been at work with that brand, so it's exciting.
Yeah, and I mean, for MacroCap, we're so close to finally opening the new canning line in our new facility that you were just mentioning about. So we're going to have a lot of open capacity in the very near future to just continue to drive what we were just talking about into the market. So it's going to be a really exciting time. And I also know a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes within our industry, and it's going to be really exciting to watch over the next year.
Nice. Lou, can you give us your support for whatever we're going to do at the next expo, possibly?
100%.
All right, we're in. All right,
Solid.
Stay tuned, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.